Hi everyone, this week we focus on literacy and theoretical perspectives, which really helped me to rethink how children learn to read and write. One of my key takeaways is that literacy is not just about decoding print, but about interconnected processes of speaking, listening, reading, writing, and viewing. It is a social practice shaped by environment and culture, rather than a fixed set of skills. In the workshop, I explored alchemy boxes for phonologic awareness. In this activity, children place a counter in a box for each sound in a word. For example, dog is segmented into the, o, g. Children then move the counters while saying the sound and slide their finger across to blend the word. This reflects the cognitive theory of literacy learning, which highlights sound, symbol links, and step-by-step skill building. I found it useful because it gives learners a visual and tactile way to understand language, which supports both young and multilingual learners. At the same time, I also see links to the socio-cultural perspective, which view literacy as developing through meaningful interaction with others. For example, after using alchemy boxes, children could share stories about dogs, talk about their experiences, or draw their own pictures. This extends oral language, creativity, and social communications. As Celine Flint reminds us, literacy is complex and best supported when teachers use multiple theories, cognitive, mesolinguistics, socioculture, and critical approaches to meet diverse learner needs. When applying this idea to Red Creek School, theory becomes even more important. The foundation to Year 2 class includes children from farming families, 3 Aboriginal students, and 2 ELD children. For these learners, alchemy boxes clearly show the word structure, which supports English language learning. At the same time, the activity encourages collaboration, allowing children from different cultural backgrounds to learn together. Embedding phonological awareness tasks in a socio-cultural framework makes literacy teaching both systematic and cultural responsive. Today we created a story with the creek as the setting. First, each of us designed a main character and think about what they might be doing by the creek. Then we went outside to observe and take photos, connecting our character with the creek. After returning to the classroom, we wrote down our story ideas on the story structure sheet, building the framework step by step from beginning, middle, end. This activity was highly educational. As children set up their story, they learned the unique structure of narrative genres. A story usually consists of predictable stages, and each stage answers different questions. Who are the characters? When and where did the events happen? How does the sequence unfold? This directly connects to our reading this week, which highlighted that genres has predictable stage structures that help students better master narration. In addition, Celie points out that such activities are especially suitable for children's oral practice during the transition to school. When children tell and share their stories, they not only develop their language structures, but also practice audience awareness and interpersonal communication skills. Teachers can also use their activity to learn about student pre-knowledge and interest. when we were taking story photos outdoors, our teacher suggested that we could first construct our story in our first language and then share them in English. This aligns with the view of Fellows and Oakley. For students learning English as an additional language, they should be allowed to use their first language to grasp concepts before the gradually moving to English expression. Celie also emphasized that teachers need to build bridges between students' home language and English. This series also applied directly to the context of Red Creek School. Since most of students' learning activities take place indoors, I believe this outdoor story creation activity could be carried out before a writing workshop. This would stimulate their interest in writing and enrich their language experiences. In addition, Red Creek has many ELD students, so teachers need to provide extra guidance and support to help them connect their home language with English. In this week, one of the most meaningful moments for my learning was the group analysis of children's writing samples. We were asked to classify the samples according to stages of writing development, identify evidence to justify our decisions, and suggest next step for the teacher. This activity makes me deeply aware that the development of writing ability is not linear. Before entering kindergarten and school, children have varied experiences that shape their knowledge and skills in writing. Therefore, as Fellows and Oakley point out, children progress at different rates in writing development, requiring different experiences, level of support, and intensities of guidance in order to learn and improve. At the same time, through this analysis activity, I came to understand what writing development does not occur in isolation, but is multidimensional process. Celie emphasized that writing is not merely about mastering conventions, but rather a creative and social practice. Thus, we should not only focus on whether children write correctly, but also investigate what concepts they have already grasped, which strategies they are using, and what forms of scaffolding they may need next. So this experience also made me realize the important role of teachers. The process of analyzing writing samples was essentially training us to diagnose the developmental stage each child is in, and then design appropriate teaching support. When I connect this task to Red Creek School, it becomes especially important for my learning. The students at Red Creek are very diverse, coming from different year level and cultural background. This means their writing development is uneven and shaped by language, culture, and learning opportunities. From this workshop, I realized that teachers at Red Creek need to carefully identify what each student can already do in writing, and then provide scaffold. For example, multimodal expression like drawing, oral storytelling, or using the home language can help ELD students make meaning. Aboriginal students' storytelling traditions should also be valued and included, so that their cultural knowledge can be transformed into meaningful written text. Hi everyone. In week 4, one of the most important learning moments for me was the shared reading task with Where the Wild Things Are. In my group, we designed a pre-reading stage by asking open-ended questions such as, what do you think when you see this title? Why is there a boat here? These questions encouraged predictions and connections to children's own experience. I found this activity very powerful because it showed me how oral language can support comprehension before children even begin reading the text. I realized that when we give students time to talk, imagine, and connect to pre-knowledge, they become more prepared and motivated to engage with the story. The second key moment was when we used hoops on the floor to map the story structure. We identified the orientation, events, complications, and resolution. This was a simple but highly effective activity. It helped me understand how teachers can clearly teach a narrative structure in an interactive and engaging way. I discovered that reading development is not only about decoding words, but also about learning how stories are organized and how meaning is built across a text. The reading this week deepened my understanding of why these strategies are so important. Parkin compares reading to a jigsaw puzzle where decoding and comprehension comes together to create skill reading. As teachers, our goal is to help students become successful meaning makers. Winch also emphasizes how shared reading supports children's comprehension by building knowledge before reading. Introducing the book carefully and asking questions about the cover. This idea helps me connect the workshop practices with the theoretical foundations of early reading instruction. Finally, when I was thinking about Red Creek School, this task feels especially important to me. The student there comes from diverse background and their reading abilities are at different levels. Shared reading and pre-reading discussions provide inclusive entry points for all students, regardless of their language background. Through oral discussion, picture walks, and culturally relevant stories, teachers can help every child feel accepted of becoming a reader. This reflection has shifted my perspective. Reading is not just about recognizing words, but about creating meaning, build identity, and making connections. Hi everyone, this week I deepened my understanding of teaching and learning cycle. I learned that it's not a fixed step-by-step process, but a flexible cycle where teachers move between stages as students' needs change. It's more than just giving structure, it's about creating a learning environment that is both high challenge and high support. Another important insight was about extended classroom talk. I realized that productive talk is not just about students saying more. It's about students thinking more deeply. Teachers can use strategies like reversing, pressing for reasoning, allowing wait time, and ask students to build on each other's ideas. For example, when discussing where the wild things are, I could ask, have you personally experienced any of this situation, or is the cultural context familiar? These questions connect students' personal, social, cultural, and literacy repertoires to the text. I also learned how the teacher's role changes across the cycle. The gradual release model shows how teacher responsibility slowly shifts to students. At first, the teacher models the task, I do, you watch. Next comes shared instruction. We do it together. Then in get practice, students take the lead while the teacher observe and supports. This means you do a guide. Finally, students work independently. You do it alone and reflect. This progression highlights how teachers move from being the main instructor to becoming a guide and coach, helping students build confidence and independence. If I apply this at Red Creek School, where students come from diverse cultural and language backgrounds, I would adopt the task by building more on their funds of knowledge. For Aboriginal students, I might invite connections to country when we read stories about place. For Afghan students who are still learning English, I could encourage bilingual sharing before moving to English responses. I would also use talk moves, workshops, and small group retellings so that all students, no matter their language level, can join in and learn meaningfully.